Hi YouTubers, here I am again. I told you last time about my problems with my ears, and that I was totally frustrated and unhappy that my parents didn't acknowledge my problems with my looks. That they said, it's okay, you're okay, don't worry about it, and didn't really listen to me. So over time, and since I always had to go to this damn hairdresser who was instructed by my parents to cut my hair short, I developed some kind of an hate against my parents, and I wanted to do my own thing. I didn't want to be under the authority of my parents, who didn't understand what happened to me at that time. So I decided to run away. I didn't know exactly when and how, but in early fall of that year, I was about 14 years old, an opportunity arose. I told in my last video, I told you already that once a week on Tuesday evening, I could go to a little, like a Christian gathering where kids could play together, could talk, could listen to the chaplain who was running this whole show. It was quite nice because there were girls also, but okay, that was the only way to get away in the evening with 14. So I went there every week, and on this fall Tuesday I had to go to the hairdresser again, and just like I had feared, my parents had talked to him again and warned him to cut my hair shorter than he had done the last time. Otherwise, they would go to another hairdresser with me. So he cut my hair really short. I mean, it was terrible. I felt totally naked. I hated it. Thank God it was fall, so I could put my cap on. But that was kind of the initial thing where I said, okay, now I run away. Since I had, it was afternoon when I came back from the hairdresser, I had time till the evening to go to this gathering, this Christian gathering. I collected the money I had saved. It was about $50 worth, maybe, and some gold coins I had been given from my favorite aunt, 4 or 5 gold coins, which were worth maybe each gold coin, I would say, another $50 to $100. So I took that, didn't say anything, made sure that I was putting on the right shoes and warm clothes and a scarf and mittens, and I left. And instead of going to the bus, which would take me to the next city for kilometers away, where this gathering was, I put my thumb up and tried to hitchhike to the highway, which led to Salzburg, where the border to Germany was. My idea was to go to Freilassing, that's the border city on the German side, from Salzburg, where the trains were always stopping, and I thought that I would take a freight train to Hamburg. I knew Hamburg had a big port, and there I hoped to steal myself on a ship to New York. So okay, it was relatively easy to find somebody who took me to Salzburg, and since the highway was not far away from the border station, I walked there and checked it out. You have to imagine there is a little river. It's not a relatively small river, a bridge over the river, and on the one side there is the Austrian border, and on the other side the German border. And at that time, of course, there was no EU yet, and there were the border crossings. You had to have a passport to go to Germany from Austria. So I approached this bridge about 500 meters from from the bridge, I went downstream into the woods to try to get somewhere to a place where I could cross the little river. But unfortunately, of course, there were relatively high fences on both sides. So I made it over the first fence, the Austrian fence, which was about 3 meters high maybe. Nobody saw anything. It was very quiet. I went down to the river. That was not very deep, but still I had to go into the water, and I was getting wet on my knees, up to my knees. I was walking in the water. It was, of course, very exciting to try to steal myself over there. I made it to the other side, and then I had the last big obstacle, which was the fence on the German side. And there I probably made the mistake that I was too loud or whatever to get over there, because I couldn't go underneath the fence. I had to climb over it. And when I finally had climbed over it and was on the other side and going uphill to see if the border crossing if they didn't have seen anything or heard anything, suddenly there was a bark and there was a dog, and I saw in the distance a guy, policeman, border guy, who had a lamp, and the light was hitting me, and he yelled, "Stop! Hands up!" And the dog was growling, and I was totally afraid. And there I was standing. Well, what he did, he captured me, he cuffed me, and he brought me back to the border station. God, what a shit, I thought. I was afraid, but I was also obstinate. The guy asked me, and I didn't say anything. And so he put me into his office and asked my name. And when finally I gave him my full name, he said, "Don't lie, that is not a real name," which is funny because my last name is a little difficult to spell. But finally he got all my data and my story, more or less. He called my parents. I heard that he talked to my father, I think, and then he came back and said, "Okay, you're getting picked up. Your father will come, but it's about 80 kilometers, so it takes an hour at this time of the evening." So he put me in a cell. So I was in a cell, in a real prison cell, the first time in my life with 14 years. So I sat there waiting and thinking, oh shit, this is going to be not good. My father will be totally pissed off and I probably get hit. Mind you, he never hit me before, but I thought this is the time when he's going to hit me. So I was sitting there, being not afraid, being pissed off, I think, first of all. So after an hour or so, suddenly the door opened and there was the guy who had captured me and my father standing beside him, looking at me, shaking his head, not saying anything else, not hitting me, not doing anything, just telling me, come on, let's go. After he had finished this business with these guys at the border, probably telling them everything is fine, whatever, he told me to get into the car and we drove off towards home. He didn't say a thing. I sat there, I was waiting that the storm will break loose right away, but he didn't say anything. He drove quietly, and maybe halfway he turned and said to me, "If I would have been you, I would have done this more cleverly." That was devastating. Well, he didn't say anything then. He was quiet. It's like maybe amused a little bit. I don't know. He was not upset. No. When we came home, he sent me to the bedroom of my parents and said, "Now look what you have done. because there was my mother in there, laying in bed, being sedated. I think the doctor had come because she had a nervous breakdown. And I thought, fuck, well, serves you right. I was really pissed off that I didn't have made it. And the worst thing was that, of course, I went to sleep. Next morning I went to school. That was the worst thing. You know, I wanted to be in Hamburg, looking for a ship to New York. And in reality, I was sitting in school, hating every minute of it. And what was even worse, when I told my friends, they didn't believe me. They said, come on, we saw you yesterday and now you're in school. That couldn't have happened in the time in between. I don't believe you. Well, so that was my little adventure running away from home. One good thing came off it. Afterwards, my parents were not as strict anymore regarding my hair. So I was allowed to grow my hair over my damn ears, and so things got better. Okay. Next time, I'll talk a little bit about how difficult it is as a juvenile to develop your own sense of what you want to do and to be successful in pushing through your ideas. But for now, that's enough. Thanks very much for listening. Have a good time, and until next time, bye.